Listen, we can just start with a fitness query. I see there were reports earlier this week about Cameron Carter-Vickers suggesting he might need surgery before the season's out on his knee injury. Are you able just to bring us up to speed with what the situation is with Cameron and if we're likely to see him playing again this season?
Cameron's trained all week. Will play tomorrow. The only reason he didn't play last week was because of the surface. I mentioned that before the game. So he's trained all week and ready to go. And yeah, from a fitness perspective, nothing else changes. All the other lads are closer, and training, but won't make this weekend.
And just in terms of Cameron, I mean, you say he plays tomorrow. I mean, is he likely to have to undergo?
Mate, he's playing
surgery?
tomorrow. He's playing tomorrow, so that's where it begins and ends. It's I can't predict the future. I can't. If he gets through tomorrow, he'll play next week. So that's how it is. Yeah.
Just in terms of the game tomorrow, if you win that's 18 wins in a row. That goes past the 17-win run set by Brendan Rodgers and would see you really starting to close in on the club's record that was set by the great Jock Stein. I'm just wondering, I mean, how aware are you of all of that? And is it the kind of thing as a manager and a group you look at or you're motivated by? What do you make of all of that?
No, it's not a focus for us. Obviously, the consistency of the lads in terms of performance and results. These kind of things get mentioned along the way, but we've been really good at just sort of focusing on what the next challenge is, because the reality of it is all of that becomes irrelevant if we don't win tomorrow. You can look beyond tomorrow and say if we do this and that and the other, but unless we win tomorrow, all those kind of things dissipate. I think our main motivation always is, we want to play well tomorrow. Can we play our best football tomorrow? Get another win, particularly at home in front of our supporters, score some goals, and get closer to our overall target, which is to win the title again.
Ange, what are you expecting from Motherwell tomorrow? Obviously, they've got a new manager in place since the last time you played them at Fir Park.
Yeah, that's not unusual, though, to be fair. I think most teams we're playing have got a new manager these days. Stuart's done awfully well, to be fair to him. I think they obviously made a decision on change of manager. I still think, they always had, they're always a very competitive side anyway, but Stuart's certainly given them a real lift. And, their form's, been really good and they're actually creating a lot of chances. Kevin Van Veen's been outstanding up front for them, so good challenge for us. But we're at home, and you kind of know we haven't got too many more home games to go, so we want to make sure that we put on a good performance for our supporters, and as I said before, edges us closer to our ultimate goal.
I know you say it's about a game at a time for you. You've obviously got the Scottish Cup semi-final next weekend. In terms of the players who are still out injured, are you hoping that they'll be back for that game?
I don't really think about it, to be honest. I'm worried about tomorrow. If we get through tomorrow, and then we'll see. Hopefully, we get through tomorrow unscathed, and then we'll work through the week next week and see who's available for the game then. But right now, we're just focused on making sure we have a strong team out there to win tomorrow.
Hi, Ange. I was just speaking to Greg there. I asked him the same question I'm about to ask you, but just talking about the previous 11 games you've played. This is the last. If you split it into thirds, this is the last time you'll play before the split. Do you think in this section, these 11 games, having won them all, you think it's the best football you've played? You always talk about improving. That's constantly your goal, whatever it is, just keep improving on the pitch. Greg thinks it probably is. Do you agree with him on that?
I don't know about the split or what sort of the timelines you're talking about, but I think I've already said sort of since the World Cup, I think our form and our football's been really strong. I think it's been better than the first half of the year when I thought we were still really excellent. So, as I said, the key for us now is to finish the season strong. Irrespective of what we've done so far, we've got 6 games to go in the league, plus a cup semi-final next week, and if we can finish, with our best form now, it'll put us in a good place because, like I said, since the start of the year, we've been really consistent and getting stronger every week.
Just going back to Motherwell, you're talking there about how often managers change in the top flight in football in general. How difficult is that for you and your coaching staff to kind of get to grips quickly with a new manager? Is it hard? Do you feel that managers come in and change much at teams?
Depends. Just depends on sort of the manager, and depends on the circumstances they've taken over. And yeah, the reality is that very rarely is there a major shift unless, you know, there's a transfer window in place where, you know, the team can change during that time. So, you know, if I think there's more sort of emphasis on it. If a manager's gone through a transfer window, then you know that he's had an opportunity then to implement some part of his style. So then that may determine a bit of a shift. But, you know, I don't think sort of ones that happen sort of quickly mean that there's too much of a change in the team you're going to face.
Hi, Ange. How pleased have you been with the way the January signings have settled in over the last few months and the impact they've made so far?
Yeah, they've all been good. They've all contributed, and they've all settled in really well within the football club and just generally with life here in Scotland. And you know, that's the most important thing for us, is to, you know, to make sure that, you know, they've adjusted to everything they need to, so they can then perform when required. And I think they've all made an impact. They've all made a contribution to the team. Again, you know, every window we want to try and come out of it a little bit stronger than what we've gone into it, and I think that's certainly the case for January.
Hi, Ange. This is almost the end of your second season, obviously, and it has been a success. When you look back, is there one thing that you could pick out that you've enjoyed most about Scottish football?
Yeah, not really at the moment, because, you know, sort of, I know you've said our season's been a success, but, you know, we haven't finished it yet, and we'll determine the success or otherwise of it at the end of it. And you know, from my perspective, that's where all my focus is. I don't really have, you know, I don't really think about things beyond that in terms of reflection, or, you know, I think there's enough at the moment going on with whether that's, you know, with what's left of this season, or beginning to plan for next season. And all these kind of things take up your time. And, you know, I guess the time for reflection will come, you know, once this season's done. But, you know, right now it's, you know, we haven't really changed anything we do. We know there's a game tomorrow. That's the most important thing on everyone's minds, including mine. And anything outside of that, we tend not to spend too much time thinking about.
Could I just ask you about the women's team under Fran Alonso? They've obviously got a big semi-final at the weekend, and they're back in their own title race. Does it show just how well the club is performing overall with the success of both teams on the pitch?
Yeah, look, it's pleasing. I mean, Fran's been doing an outstanding job for a number of years now, and the girls every year are looking to improve. And, you know, you can see that, you know, their ambitions lay in terms of trying to, you know, bring more silverware to the club. So yeah, it's great to see. And you know, each team has its own individual journey and its own individual way of doing things. But, you know, you can see that within, I guess, all the clubs that has represented us this year, whether that's, you know, Fran with the women's team or the B team, there's been a real focus to try and be the best we can be. And you know, hopefully the girls finish off the season strong and bring some more silverware to the club.
Ange, my questions come from a supporter's perspective, so hopefully I don't come across too excited. I know you have said you don't like to reflect and look back, but just, you know, as a fan, we love seeing the team grow. And one of the piece of analytics I did after last weekend for Celtic Fans TV was just look at goals scored and goals against. So, you know, that day in Livingston, we had a 1-0 defeat way back September 21, a long time ago. We turned a corner after that, and there was 39 domestic games between that game and the end of that season. And we had an 82% win ratio with 92 goals scored and 22 conceded, so a plus 70. This year, as it so happens, the Kilmarnock game last weekend was again the 39th domestic game of the season. A 95% win ratio, 127 goals scored and 27 conceded, a plus 100 goals. And I know you've said several times today you don't like looking back, but I can't help as a supporter to be incredibly excited about the progress this team's making. And I just wonder how much focus there is on So we don't look back, we just look forward and we try and improve and we focus on the next game. But how much do we recognise the team, thank them and look at what they've achieved just to help that feel-good factor in the squad?
I admire your commitment and passion. That's some stats you've dug up there, which is brilliant. Look, I think from my perspective, like I said, my role within that, like I said, is not to reflect, but that doesn't mean that I don't want our supporters to enjoy the journey and certainly appreciate what the lads are doing in terms of on a weekly basis and even the players themselves. The reason I kind of don't spend too much time thinking of what's gone past is because I've been long enough in the game to know that things can unravel pretty quickly if you're not really laser focused on what's next. But along the way, I think you need to enjoy it and appreciate it. Look, a big part for me is as much as obviously we get defined by success, and success means winning trophies and winning games of football, I guess the most pleasing thing for me is the number of goals we've scored, because I still think that's still the best part of football for me. It goes beyond winning, because with winning that sometimes you can win and not really enjoy a game of football, but no one ever does not enjoy a goal. Even the most scrambling of sort of ugliest of goals still gets celebrated. So I love the fact that if there's one sort of record I'll be most proud of, is if we can score more goals than have ever been scored before by the football club, because I know how much joy that's brought everybody, players, everyone involved, supporters. Like I said, the backdrop of that is we've got to win games of football for sure and win trophies. That's always going to be the measure, but especially at this football club, but just in football in general, I love the joy goals bring, and the more we score, the happier I am.
Brilliant. And I think, Ange, I don't know if you know this or not, but I think the all-time record, there's been a lot of chat about Brendan Rodgers' 106 goals, but 116 I think is the all-time record, and it goes back to 1915. So no pressure, but if we can beat that one, that'll be some record to beat. Second question was just on Iwata. So been really looking forward to seeing a bit more of him, and we've seen him play really well at Kilmarnock and at Ross County. I just wondered how pleased you are in relation to how well he's settled into the club and the team when he's been given the opportunity. Yeah,
look, really pleased. I mean, I obviously, again, he's one of those that I knew really well because I've already managed him before, so I kind of knew what I was getting. Tomoki, or Tomo as the boys are calling him, if even to turn that Scottish somehow. Anyway, he's just a really strong-willed, determined footballer who I always knew would always try and be the best he can be. So even before I brought him in here, I knew that he would add to our environment, just the way he goes about things. And if you ask the lads, I think they'll all tell you the same thing. He's just an unbelievable trainer. He's unbelievable in the gym. He does everything right, which I knew he would. But he's also a quality player, and I think he brings something different to our midfield. He's kind of he's a little bit of a hybrid. He's not sort of, even though he looks like he sort of plays defensive midfield, I know his background is that he almost started as a little bit of a wing back, then became a sort of a central defender in a back three with a licence to go forward. He's got an immense running power. He's really strong. He's very mobile, and he's technically very good on the ball. So I like the fact that when we play him in the midfield, and he'll keep growing. He'll obviously, once he adjusts more, I think you'll find he'll be one of these players who plays that role very differently to anyone else. And, we're starting to see elements of that. I've been a bit probably cautious about how much game time I've given him because, as I've already said, I remember last year just overloading the guys who've just come off an Asian full season, can be to their detriment. Easing him in means that he'll finish strong. Whatever games we've got left, he'll be at his best, which is great, and then he can do a pre-season with us and be ready for next year. But really pleased with him, but probably the least surprised about how he's going because I knew what I was getting before he came.